Somewhere along the way, we started shopping more and experiencing less. Products became thumbnails, spaces became content, and furnishing became about the scroll instead of about the stay. But guests don't remember thumbnails, they remember how a space makes them feel. I'm Marc, founder of Minoan, a platform that helps short-term rental hosts and boutique hotels furnish smarter. I've always been obsessed with the intersection of retail, product, and hospitality, and how the right decisions shape the way we experience a space. This is your friend in furnishing, where we talk to the people who create these spaces and ask them, what products truly elevate a space, and how do you create an experience guests actually remember? In our first episode, we're chatting with Jenika Newsum, the design brain behind Black Bear Cabin in the Poconos. We're going to explore how she furnished her space with intention, aligning her values with the details that make the stay memorable. Welcome, Jenika.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
And this one's been fun because from most of our members, I don't always have like an inside view of the whole journey, but with you and Jamal, I kind of was like following along as you guys are under construction, you're going through design, so this is a fun one for me to start with. Why don't we start by telling viewers a little bit more about the property? Can you just tell us a little bit more about Black Bear Cabin?
It is a cabin in the Poconos, specifically Pocono Lake, and it's on its own tiny little lake. We had purchased the land, so this was a new construction built from scratch. So we went from just a piece of land and this little sliver of a lake that was so beautiful to about a year later going through the construction process and having this big but very empty home that we needed to furnish. And so that's where we plugged in with you guys at Minoan. Such a big part of our design process and how we were able to really get beautiful things to fill this home with. At a great price. So that was amazing. I think for me, leading the design, I always had an idea of what I wanted this cabin to be. Initially, I was thinking much more like minimalist Scandinavian, but it sort of evolved, and I think you learn more about the area that you're working in, and I wanted it to feel really native to the Poconos, and so it went a little bit more kind of cottage cabin, warm, cozy vibes, which I love so much. And there were so many materials decisions and product decisions that went into bringing the vision together. But personally, I'm very passionate about interiors and design. And I think more than anything, creating an experience for guests. So for me, everything was just filtered through what is the experience that I want, who's staying here? What are they going to do? What are they going to need? What's going to make them feel cozy? And again, I think to your point, like, guests aren't going to remember every single thing, but they're really going to remember how they felt. And so many of those micro decisions go into making what was an empty house really a home and a destination for people. So it's been a long process, but so special, and we're so excited to share it.
Before we hopped on, you were talking a little bit about how design almost starts before you're picking furniture and selections. It starts, like, in your case, even during the construction process. So can you talk through, like, what that was like and some of the key decisions that you were making there to support sort of your vision for the property?
Yes. And I'm going to try to keep this from turning into a therapy session and really pull out the nuggets that I think would be helpful. For us, this was our first build, my husband and I, and we learned so much. I think there are really exciting parts, like our kitchen is really the heart of the home. We have this big kitchen with a really long, like 12-foot island. It seats 5 people, and it's just like such a focal point. And I really wanted that apron front, big farmhouse kitchen sink. And I had such a clear vision for this kitchen. And our builders, they said, okay, today, you're going to go to the kitchen store and pick out your kitchen. And I was like, this is the best day ever. And I go and I pick out my kitchen and everything. And no one says one thing to me about budget. And then about 2 weeks later, a contractor calls and they said, okay, well, so you're about $11,000 over budget with your material selections. And I said, oh my gosh, like, there's no way. I told them on the kitchen alone. Really, it was like mostly countertops. So I had to go back to this showroom and say, okay, what types of materials are in my budget? And they show you and you just go, okay. So this is not what I had in my head, but I ultimately found a really nice stone that was as close as it could look. And then once it was in the home, just really, what it was is it was neutral enough to not take away from the things that I love. If you can't splurge on something really expensive, just make it neutral. Make it kind of go, was my thinking there. And the whole time you're making these decisions, you're losing money, right? It's holding up 1 week, 2 weeks. Your builders are using you as the reason why they're behind.
And yeah, the other thing you pointed out that's so true of rentals, that's like, if you're working on your own home, delays are still annoying, and of course, but there's less like pressure of time is money, where with a short-term rental or hotel, like time is literally, you can forecast like we should be doing this much in revenue during these times. And it is a unique constraint that we hear from a lot of our members of like, it just time becomes of the essence more than anything else. And rush design is certainly no fun. One thing we like to ask members is, what would you buy again and what would you not buy again? So are there any learnings? Like, what are some of the things that you bought that you feel like were just A+, 10 out of 10, perfect for what you wanted? And are there any things that, if you were redesigning Black Bear Cabin today, you might have made a different selection?
Yeah, 100%. I love our couch. Minoan, shout out. But we did decide to, I guess you could call it a splurge or invest in a real leather couch. For a few reasons. It's really a focal point within the room. It's kind of the heart of that house. Everyone's piling on the couch at the end of the day, watching a movie. We spend so much time there. So I knew it would get a lot of wear and tear. So I wanted it to be functional and beautiful at the same time. And real leather is actually quite easy to clean. And easy to treat, and it wears well. There's like a nice patina. It's meant to get a couple scuffs. It's meant to have variation in color. If a couple times a year you do like a conditioning treatment, which I could do myself, and you can wipe it down and feel good, and it's clean, not any weird germies. I think that works really well. There were a few faux leather couches I looked at, and you're talking about the difference of, I think you get a faux leather couch, like a decent one, for like $850, and then for the size of couch we were looking for real leather was closer to that $2,500-$3,000 investment. That's a big investment. That was a big piece of my budget, and ultimately, for me, you can read the reviews on faux leather. They are not great. It doesn't age well. And I think that's where it's like, buy it nice or buy it twice. If I've got to buy that couch twice, I might as well have just bought the real leather one. If something really bad happens to it, it's insured. We have air cover, all of those things. Another thing I would say is we have an iron bed frame in our king size bed upstairs. That thing, I think, could survive a nuclear war and has survived, I'm sure, many things that I don't even want to know. The wooden bed frames, I think a child could jump on the bed and they would break. Those like wooden slats. So that's where I would say we actually spent less on the iron bed frame. And it has stood the test of time. We have replaced, between this property and another property we have replaced wooden slats. We have reinforced them ourselves with like big 4x4s from Home Depot. Like, we have done so many things to try to prevent the breaking of wooden bed frames. And I don't know, maybe I don't want to know what happens in Airbnbs, but those bed frames, they be breaking.
Listen, the space is much more than the photos. Like, I think the guest experience gets the reviews, but the photos do get the booking. If you're going to invest, like anywhere someone is sitting, sleeping, or eating is just a good place, like, to invest, because they're going to generally be the focal points of those areas, and people are going to spend a lot more time on those things. So, sounds like you nailed it.
Okay, another really hardworking piece in our home, and I realized I was just counting this morning as I was thinking about this podcast, was I have 5 jute rugs in the house. Like those natural fiber jute rugs. That is the workhorse of the home because they make the space feel really cozy. We have the same floor throughout the whole home. So we have a engineered hardwood, which again was very intentional. We want it to take wear and tear. We know guests are not taking their shoes off. I know dogs are running around crazy. So I wanted a really durable flooring. But I wanted the space to not feel like this like sea, right? Like big area rugs really stitch rooms together and kind of create little vignettes, especially in that big open room that we have. And those jute rugs, you could have like a wet dog rolling on that thing in mud. It'll dry. You vacuum it up. They wear and tear so well. They're kind of naturally stain resistant. They're naturally water resistant. They have like a warmth and a texture to them, especially because we did do a new construction. I wanted it to feel warm. I didn't want it to feel like you were walking into this brand new cold space. So people want to go to a cabin and be cozy. They want to be in front of the fire, on their couch. So for us, a lot of our inspiration was really choosing very textural, natural, organic materials, kind of bringing some of the outside in to feel like you were bringing that full cabin woodsy experience in through the home. I probably invested a little bit too much in like fancy duvet covers in the beginning because I really had a vision and I wanted these like linen just shams and things like that. I think bedding needs to be nice, but it first and foremost needs to be clean. So if you spend a lot on a duvet cover or a sheet set and it gets a stain, you're going to be tempted to try to get the stain out or hide the stain or think maybe the guests won't see the stain. And guess what? They're going to see it and they're going to say something, and that is like not okay. Like it has to be clean. So I think you're better off going with that like hospitality standard, all white, 100% for your sheets. I think for your duvet covers, you can have color there. You can have some personality. I would keep it neutral though. And I would say don't buy something that you love so much that you will actually feel pain if it gets stained. Like know that things like bedding, buy it nice enough, but don't get emotionally attached because you're going to be reordered. It needs to not be too expensive. It just needs
Are you guys doing California Design Den? I know you were looking at that.
We do.
You do?
I do the California Design Den sheets. I find that I think we do the 400 thread count one, not their like Egyptian cotton. They have like some higher tier products. I think for us, they're comfortable. Like you get in them, they're nice. They're not like scratchy. Like what you don't want for sheets is someone to get in and go, ugh. Like you just need to avoid the ugh. But you don't want it to be like so expensive again that like you might be ordering 20 sets of sheets a year depending on how many beds you have. We have 6 beds, 4 twin, a queen and a king. That's another thing. Having a queen bed and a king bed, I might have just done queen and queen or king and king because our poor cleaners are like stretching out the sheets. They're like, is this the king sheet or the queen? So just make things easy on yourself when you can. But again, you're going to be ordering so much bedding.
Well, it's actually funny. Like I would look at it and say, it doesn't feel like purpose built. It doesn't feel like a purpose built rental. It feels like a home. And like I think those little like the shiplap, the thinking, the colors in each room, it just feels much cozier. And I think it's a lot of work. And so like if you're doing it and you don't love it, it's like, well, you're going to be competing with people who do love it, who are willing to wake up at 4 a.m. before they have work and go and finish it. And like. And
watch out, you other Airbnb hosts. I'm coming for. Now, you know what? I really view this as like rising tide raises all ships. I love seeing a well-designed Airbnb because I think that or short-term rental, I think that it elevates the perception across the board. I think there are so many good things about renting a home. I think there are also things that aren't great. If you are really dependent on a host, literally Joe Schmo, picking like nice sheets and clean towels, and that can be risky. So I think for us as hosts, we take so much pride in the experience. My professional background is in marketing, and so for me, good design is a marketing tool. Like I have my marketer brain on. I'm thinking about the consumer. I think the reason it feels like a home and not an investment is because it was like I just was like, what would I want if I were
Yeah.
staying here? What, if I had kids, I'd want, that like bunk room where I can throw all the kids. And I have so many memories of being a kid on vacation and being in that kid room with my cousins and we're up all night. And, if you picture those moments and you really put yourself in the shoes of your guests, I think it becomes very easy and intuitive. I think if you just look at dollars and cents, it can be hard to understand what is going to get your ROI in terms of maybe spending a little bit more or painting the room, why that's important, and things like that. So, and again, we love it. So it means a lot that passion shines through because it is truly something that we love
Yeah.
and we've loved doing together.
That's the difference in my mind between hospitality and real estate. Like real estate
Mm.
is like
Hmm.
what's the box, what's the budget, where does it go, what's the traffic, and hospitality is you need real estate, like you need a box, but also it's more about like how do we want these people to feel? And that's a much more creative way of approaching it. And the people who approach it that way just perform much better. Like we see this all the time. Like those properties tend to do much better. So I think there's just lots of advantages of just doing the work. But it is, as you've pointed out, it's like it's not for the faint of heart.
Ooh, no, no, it's not. Not when your fireplace, stops working at 1 a.m. and it's the main source of heat for your whole house, and you're, you know, sending an emergency space heater that you ordered on Walmart. Like there's
Yeah.
some crazy stuff. Like, but I think if you really love it and you invest in doing it the right way, it becomes much easier. And again, it becomes a source of joy. We love talking to our guests. We don't outsource like the guest coordination. We approve
Oh
and
yeah.
dialogue with every single guest. And look, if we were to do this a couple more times, would we still do that? Like, I don't know. But right now it's sustainable for us. And I think we have guests who repeat book and we talk to them all the time and they say like, hey, we're so excited you got a hot tub, or we love the new lamp.
Yeah.
Like they really care and notice. And so that means a lot to us too. And Jamal does an amazing job with the guest coordination. I just made it cute.
Yeah. Thank you for making such a nice space and sharing the journey with us.
And thank you guys again just for how involved Minoan was with getting it across the line. So we love it. Thank you. Thank you.